Carlile from OVH. How are you doing?
Good, very good.
We're here on Lord Howe Island near Little Island at the southern end, and we're here to find out about the research you're doing with the Providence petrels. Maybe you could take us through what your work's entailing this week.
Okay, this week is always fun. I get to hunt petrels. I always like hunting petrels. And what we're looking for is we're looking for Providence petrel that are raising their chicks at the moment. Their chicks hatched about 3 weeks ago. We're at the end of July here at the moment. And the reason we're looking for the adults that are raising chicks is we want to find birds that love each other a lot and will come back to their nests every year. And the reason we need them to love each other a lot is that we want to put these things on them. This is a global location sensor, a GLS. It's a data logger. We're putting these little Fitbits on the birds, and they'll fly away and it'll not only record where they are every day, it'll record how often they go into the water, so we can characterise their foraging. And collects day length. We've just had sunset here, and it'll also record sea surface temperature. So this one's going to tell us not only where the birds forage, but where they're going when they're not on Lord Howe.
And for the purpose of this film as well, it might be a bit hard for people to hear what we're saying because we're being surrounded by the Providence petrels now calling.
Mm-hmm.
Will these be some of the breeding birds, or are these some of the prospecting birds?
A lot of the birds who are mucking about at the moment are non-breeders, so they've missed the boat. They're still looking for friends, and it does take them, 3 to 5 years to actually be mature enough to be able to go through the process, and then it can take them 3 or 4 years of actually getting it right. Some of them get it right early on. The partnerships are good and they'll stay together. And if they don't get it right, Harry heads off and Sally heads off, wherever it works out. But once they get it right, they can breed for 30 years or more, and often in the same burrow. So,
wow. Well, shortly we're going to go and see some of these birds in the burrows. Well, why is this important? Why do we want to know where these birds are going?
It's all because of rats and Kermadec petrels.
Okay.
Kermadec petrels are affected by rats. They can't breed on Lord Howe. And so in New South Wales, they're a data-deficient seabird. There's 3 data-deficient seabirds, and surprise, surprise, they're all affected by rats on Lord Howe. So that's grey turnlets, because they can't breed well on the island. There's the Kermadec petrel and the white-bellied storm petrel, which are both restricted to the outer islands since rats arrive. And we've been studying Kermadec petrels on a rat-free island, Phillip Island off Norfolk, and we've found out some really interesting things about them, including that they breed all year round. And what we need to know is how they're managing to get all that resource, because we know nothing about the species and we need to understand its ecology so we can manage it appropriately. And so I'm here to unlock what the Providence are doing, because they're the only big winter breeding petrel in our area, and I want to compare that to what our Kermadecs are doing to find out a little bit more about them.
Wonderful. Okay, well, shall we go and unlock the secrets of the Providence petrels?
The Providence petrel. It's one of the endemic birds from Norfolk Island, and there's the chick waiting for some food. He's just crawling next to me. So this is a little Providence petrel chick. So it's just like its adults. Has a little tube nose, which are two. Let's have a look down here. Show us your beak. Little tube nose, and so that's how they excrete their salt. He's got web feet, just like the parents, for paddling in the water. He's feisty, so he keeps the rats away, and he hatched out of his eggshell. No, you're finished with that. He hatched out of his eggshell a bit over 2 weeks ago, probably 2.5 weeks ago. Looking at the size of this chick. So this guy hasn't been fed for 4 nights, and he'd be pretty hungry. So we'll pop him back in there. He's covered in down, this incredibly thick fur. Well, it's not fur, it's feather, and it looks like fur, and it'll keep him beautifully warm until he or she grows their adult feathers, which won't happen for another 2 months. Then they'll be ready to fledge, leave the island probably late October into November, and they won't come back to land for 3 to 5 years. They'll just spend their time at sea, so they're pretty extraordinary animals. Okay, there's one here. You could spend 30, 40 years putting bans on Providence petrel, and you might ban 15 or 20,000. And one of these loggers collects more data in 1 year than 20 years of putting bans on birds. So revolutionised.
So
well, this one's a big one, but yeah, that's what it's like. Okay, this bird's fed its chick, so it's a very big bird. It's a big bird. And look, playing with these birds, and just, you can actually handle these birds every day, and it's not going to be an issue for them. Obviously, if you make them regurge their food, it's an issue for the chick, but in general, it's not going to put them off their nest, it's not going to put them off their chicks. Okay, I'm going to come over to you. I'm going to ask you to tie me a reef knot. I'll do the first tie and then hold it for me. They've got feet like dinosaurs.
They do.
Very scaly, it's bizarre. Now I'm going to do something that looks a little tough for the bird. I'm actually going to pluck a few of its feathers. That's one. So these guys lose feathers all the time when they fight, so it's not like losing feathers for these birds is not a big issue. They've got 15,000. So what these feathers are is they've grown these feathers when they've been somewhere in the North Pacific, and what they've been feeding on at the time gets locked up as a signal in their feathers, and so we know where they're going, and so we can characterise their foraging and say, yep, look, he went to the same spot. So he's got his logger on, he's got a band, not too worse for wear. I'll pop him back in there and he'll come out if he wants to by himself then. Just let him walk in.
And just to reiterate for the viewer, this is what's incredible with this bird. The logger's now on to retrieve it in a year's time when it comes back to the same
nest. Yep, that's it, and that's the only reason we can work with these birds is because they are so determined to come back to the same site. We can put a $200 unit on, which has got priceless data on it, and get it back next year. They're that good.
So see you next year, bird.
Yeah, probably next May. I'll come back just before the eradication starts, and we'll start checking these burrows again.
Great.
Let's go. Logger from 2007. It's a really old system logger. I'm not even sure if it'll have any data on it. I'll send it back to the company and they'll go, oh my God, were they that big? Because their devices are so much smaller now. But this is fantastic. It means that we'll track this bird again. Hopefully I can get some data off this first logger and then we can see how it's going now. You know, how many years later? 12 years later? It's amazing. Fantastic. No marks on the bird's legs, so it didn't cause it any impact, which is always great.
See you, little guy. He's happy.
God, listen to those birds. Having a good old time over there.